there's a referendum that defeated a Port Authority city plan for the waterfront. And part of that plan included a 30-story commercial complex on Pier A, a 500,000 square feet of residential development on Pier C. And so it was put to the voters of Hoboken, and they voted down that agreement with the Port Authority. And then there was a second referendum in 1992, same thing. By then we had our own plan for how the waterfront should be developed. And basically it called for everything on the riverside of Sinatra Drive, going all the way up to the waterfront, including Sinatra Drive North and at the Weehawken Cove. Everything on the riverside would be for the public. It would be a continuous public park from one end of town to the other. And you have to put yourself back in 1990. Maybe a lot of you weren't here then, but it was, none of this existed. This is all new. And at the south waterfront here, it was Arnold Associates was hired as the landscape architects. And it really does provide a model for how the rest of the waterfront could be developed. This is what you call a passive park. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. They invested mostly in green space, trees, grass, very simple but beautiful design. So that's what we aim to get going all the way up the waterfront. And what we're going to ride past and going up the waterfront is Castle Point, which is under construction. The seawall failed. There was a sinkhole in Sinatra Drive. So the city had to pass a bond for $30 million to repair that seawall. So that's under construction now. It's supposed to be done in November. And then following that, the Sinatra Drive project can start. And all of you will appreciate the fact that this protected bicycle path lane that was built back in the mid-1990s, it goes from Newark Street up to 4th and then dead ends. That's going to be continued from 4th Street all the way up to 11th. And we engaged with the city and we encouraged them to encourage the rows of canopy trees going all the way around Castle Point Park. You're going to get a 12-foot protected bicycle pathway, two-way bicycle pathway going from 4th Street up to 11th. It's going to be extraordinary. We've been waiting many years for this to come to fruition, but we'll be going past that. And then there's Maritime Park, the former Union Dry Dock site. Another bit of good news, a lot of people were saying the city has let New York Waterway in with a 3-year lease that can be extended for another 2 years. They're never going to leave. Well, Tuesday night, the Weehawken Planning Board approved a new facility, a new ferry maintenance facility that will be located in Weehawken, which is where it currently exists. So that pretty much guarantees that eventually New York Waterway will leave. It's going to take a few more years, but eventually they'll be out, and that part of the park can be finished. Just one other thing I'll mention, a lot of people were saying the last piece of our waterfront park was the Union Dry Dock site. Well, that's not true. We're going to be going by the Stevens property at the waterfront, and so whoever is our next mayor, and I know we have a couple mayoral candidates here on this ride, it's really going to be up to them to make that happen. And it's very doable. Stevens has a lot of development plans, so part of that should be an agreement that their site at the waterfront becomes open space to connect Sinatra Park to Castle Point Park. So, here's our website, betterwaterfront.org. A lot of information on there if you want to know more about our organization. And thank you so much for inviting me to join you on this ride.